I'm the only guy named Mark who will come to your home in person and tell you what I'll sell your home for in the open market or give you my guaranteed as-is cash offer. So call Local Mark today.
Chances are all of you watching this morning know very well about the fentanyl crisis in this country. If you're a parent or a grandparent watching, it's probably pretty frightening because young people today are so susceptible to a one-time slip-up that can cost them their lives. And tonight, you're encouraged to come out to the John A Patton Center in Lookout Valley for a Stopping the Stigma event, if you will, to raise awareness for the fentanyl crisis in this country. And it's the mastermind of the two women who are on the show with me this morning. Tammy Green is the one who really has organized everything. She lost her son, Seth, is that right, to fentanyl. Next to her is Deborah Clark Morgan, who happens to be with the Hamilton County Coalition. Your son, TC, you tragically lost. So both of you are using your experiences now to try to help other people, but you want to make sure that we are stopping the stigma because this is not a choice anybody would ever make. Right. Is that right?
Absolutely.
I guess, Deborah, I'm going to start with you because I hate to say that the irony is not lost on me, but the whole purpose of the Hamilton County Coalition is this very topic. So you're kind of representative that everybody needs to be aware of this danger.
They do. They absolutely do. Because addiction does not discriminate whatsoever.
But the addiction is not to fentanyl, right?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Yes, sometimes it is. But it's opioids in general.
Okay.
But yeah, that addiction, and sometimes it leads to the fentanyl use.
Okay, so I want to start, I guess, by talking about the event tonight, and then we'll get a little bit into some facts and figures and things.
Sure.
But obviously, right out of the gate, I was wrong in my understanding of fentanyl. So at tonight, from 6 to 7:30, Tammy, when people come out, I know you're going to have a couple of speakers. Are they going to be learning about what this crisis really looks like?
Yes. From experiences that they have. The speakers will be, they're both recovering from substance abuse.
Okay.
So it's going to be quite a bit of information that they can learn and go back and take back to their communities and to take back to their homes.
Something that y'all had told me, I think, is that both of your sons struggled with anxiety. Is that right?
My son struggled with crippling anxiety, and he was clean for 2 years. When he was given something that he was poisoned by fentanyl. Fentanyl is poisoning.
So there is a difference, I guess we'll learn, between fentanyl and something called illicit fentanyl.
Right.
In your son's case, what he had was illicit. So you're talking about the addiction side of things. So sometimes when we talk about anxiety, for example, that's then being treated at the hands of a professional. It's not always a quick journey, however. So is it that people begin on an intended, accepted path, if you will, but the anxiety just builds to the point that they turn to other things?
Absolutely. There's a lot of individuals that will self-medicate, like the mental health things, even ADHD, anxiety, depression, any of those things.
Right.
And sometimes they'll use those other substances because they don't like having to go through that process with maybe a doctor trying to find out what works best for them, or they don't like the way it makes them feel.
Right.
So sometimes they'll self-medicate, and then of course self-medicating is going to get them addicted to that substance.
I had asked you both, not to pry, but I had
Sure.
said, where did your sons get this, or how are people getting it? And you very quickly said it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, they can get it everywhere. The counterfeit pills are probably more prevalent than any other substance right now.
So I know you want people to come out tonight, but I'm thinking about people who can't. They've got complications
Right.
and they can't make it. But they've got teenagers in their lives or college students. Is that kind of the typical age group we're talking about
The
here?
age group that we're mostly losing are between the ages of 24 and 44.
Really?
Normally males, but females are affected as well, but that's the largest population that we're losing.
So what's causing them to turn to it? Is it insurance?
I think just because this counterfeit fentanyl, the counterfeit pills that contain the illicit fentanyl, is very, very cheap. It does not cost very much at all.
It's available.
And it is very readily available.
So that's why I said, is it insurance? Because
Yeah.
so often you're working,
Right.
but you don't have insurance. You have this this health issue, this mental health issue. You think you need help for it,
Yep.
and you have to fund it in your own way.
Sure.
Is that kind of right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as moms, did you have ongoing conversations with your sons about concerns you had with the way they were handling their anxiety?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'll be honest, just speaking on my experience, I didn't understand substance use disorder back then. So I didn't look at relapse like I do now, because now I understand it. And I also understand the chemical response in the brain when it comes to addiction. So I know now what kind of help TC might have needed, like as far as the counseling and things like that. But
Right.
as a family, we didn't understand. So we would try to just keep him out of trouble.
Right.
So,
I think that's a really important point to make too, because every generation changes.
Sure.
So I had told you earlier, I think in my time, it was if you had an issue, you learned how to dig within and deal with it. I think today's young people believe they have to turn to something else.
Right.
And if you don't understand where they're coming from, the conversation stops right away.
yep.
Yeah. And if you are a substance abuse user, you don't generally have coping skills, and so that's your go-to.
I've got a tickle in my throat, so forgive me for pulling on my ear some. You had told me, Tammy, some pretty strong statistics. 110,000 deaths of drug overdose.
In 2022.
In 2022. 70% of them were fentanyl related?
Correct.
You also kind of, I think, wanted to take a minute. You were pretty passionate. I have a minute left, but to remind people of how this all happens. So the fentanyl, you said, is made in China.
The precursor for the chemical is made in China. It's sold to the Mexican cartel in most cases and brought over. Sometimes we Americans go get it, sometimes they bring it over. So it's here, and unfortunately it's in every community.
When they come tonight, they'll hear from the speakers, the two people who've dealt with it and how they kind of overcame it, I guess, will be the point. They can learn more, I guess, about how to be involved with you and what they can be doing in their own homes.
Absolutely.
To try to
And
keep this
next
from happening.
Thursday is actually International Overdose Awareness Day. So there'll be events going on throughout the city. The Hamilton County Coalition is actually partnering with the YMCA and having it at 4 different locations. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
I would love to have you back and talk about
Sure.
this more in depth, but here's your information for tonight. If you have any questions about how all of this is affecting your neighborhood and your family, please go tonight. And in the meantime, here's also the information for the coalition, hccoalition.org, 305-1449. Thank you.
Showing how you feel. It's been a while. Go ahead and smile.